If you guys are trying to take your training to the next level and you want to increase your speed, your power, your conditioning, then you gotta check out Phil Daru's 8-week heavy hitter boxing program. I'm telling you guys right now, there's no
Man, shout out to Dante's Boxing Nation.
DBN Nation, of course, support DBN Nation. You're hearing it from Floyd Money Mayweather.
It's Terrence Crawford, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
This is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation, baby.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo! Hey.
If you know, you know. Now, if you didn't know that Lomachenko is a wanted man, then now you know. First of all, I must make this disclaimer because a lot of people claim that nobody was calling out Lomachenko before the Luke Campbell fight, but when he looked bad, now everyone is calling him out. Of course, obviously, some fighters was avoiding Lomachenko, but I must state that Devin Haney was always consistent, and he was always calling out Lomachenko, saying he wants that fight, regardless of how Lomachenko looked versus Luke Campbell. And even Shakur Stevenson stated he wanted to move up and fight a Lomachenko and that he's ready right now, regardless of the backlash he received, claiming he reaching, even though it just shows that he's confident and he believes in himself. And not just Shakur and Devin Haney, you even had fighters like Manny Pacquiao wanting to fight Lomachenko like a year ago, and Lomachenko turned that fight down. And I know this might be hard to believe, even Tank Davis called Lomachenko out before Lomachenko looked kind of exposed versus Luke Campbell. On TMZ, Tank Davis got asked, would you fight a Lomachenko? And he stated yes, either early 2020, mid 2020, or even late 2020. And that was before the Luke Campbell fight. You could check out the interview on TMZ. And we know him and Lomachenko were on the same page because Lomachenko, when he called out Tank Davis, he said, I don't want to fight Tank Davis next because obviously I want to unify the 135-pound division. So due to that reason, after I unify the division, I'm willing to go down in weight and fight Tank Davis. Now, after Lomachenko looked exposed his last fight, Tank Davis actually already moved up in weight to become his mandatory for one of his belts. So, Lomachenko has no reason to go down in weight. And the reason I'm letting this be known is because a lot of people claim that Lomachenko is so avoidant and he had no one to fight, even though he had the likes of Mikey Garcia calling him out before fighting Errol Spence. But because he couldn't secure the fight due to Lomachenko injury, he had to move up in weight and fight Errol Spence because he wanted a big fight. So, fighters are calling out Lomachenko. Now, it's time to see if Lomachenko is for real or if he's going to maneuver. Because it makes no sense for Lomachenko to move down in weight when all the big names and the best talent is at 135, including Tank Davis, the fighter you want to fight and move down in weight in order to fight. Now, Devin Haney is letting it be known after he becomes the mandatory this Saturday night, he will call out Lomachenko. He wants to fight Lomachenko next because Lomachenko stated he wants to fight in between before he fights the winner of Comey and Lopez. And the reason why is because he don't want to be inactive. So Lomachenko wants to fight in between, and Devin Haney already volunteered to be that opponent. Obviously, he will become his #1 mandatory for one of his belts, I believe, is the WBA. Devin Haney actually wanted to fight Luke Campbell for the WBA vacant belt. However, Lomachenko beat him to it. And I don't even know how a champion is the mandatory for a vacant belt. Like, that don't even make any sense. But that's the sport of boxing for you. Now, obviously, Devin Haney is fighting Abdul Laev next. If I pronounce his name wrong, that's my fault, but his name is kind of hard to pronounce. They fighting for the #1 mandatory for Lomachenko belt. However, because Lomachenko claims that he's going to vacate all the belts and move down in weight after unifying and becoming the undisputed champion at 135, Devin Haney wants to ruin those plans, and his plan is to call out Lomachenko after winning Saturday night and fighting Lomachenko next because he really wants that fight. He feels that he could beat Lomachenko, point blank, period. Now, I got to give Devin Haney a lot of credit because he's a young fighter. I believe he's 20 or 21 years old. And to call out a top fighter, a top 3 pound for pound fighter, I got to give you all the credit in the world because Lomachenko is a completed fighter. And Devin Haney, down the line, could beat a Lomachenko. But right now, it's kind of risky. It's a 50-50 fight in my opinion. I believe Devin Haney is 10 times better than a Luke Campbell. He's a fighter who could utilize his reach better. He could fight mid-range and inside, unlike Luke Campbell. So that will give Lomachenko a lot of problems. However, he's an orthodox fighter, which Lomachenko is more comfortable fighting orthodox fighters than southpaw fighters. Now, what I don't understand is why Lomachenko want to move down in weight. You should have unified that division when you were at 130. Now you want to move down in weight when things getting heated at the 135-pound division. The division is just getting hot. You couldn't even get the fight you wanted versus Mikey Garcia. That's the fight that was going to define you. You let Errol Spence beat him up instead of you getting in the ring and fight him. So since that's the case, you have the big names like Ryan Garcia, a winnable fight for Lomachenko. I will favor Lomachenko all day. You have big fights versus Devin Haney, versus Tank Davis, versus Lopez. All these big fights at 135, but now you want to move down in weight because you think these guys are too big for you. Lomachenko fought at 132 most of his amateur career. That's 3 pounds away from 135. So what's the big deal? Lomachenko is 5'7". You have Manny Pacquiao, who's I believe is 5'6", and he fought at 126, 130, 135, fought at 147. So it's all about your skill at the end of the day. You got Floyd Mayweather, he fight at 147, and he fight guys 20 pounds bigger than him. And Floyd fight night, he comes to the fight at 147. He already fought at 154. And even in the weigh-in, he doesn't even come to the weigh-in at 154. He comes to the weigh-in at 150. And to make matter worse, Floyd Mayweather might wake up the next day weighing 146 like he did for the Canelo Alvarez fight. But regardless, skill pay the bills. On the other hand, you got Lomachenko, who fought at 132 most of his amateur career. That's 3 pounds away from 135. He comes into the weigh-in at 135, but fight night, he weighs like 147, 145 at least, 150 fight night. So what's the big deal? Like I said, it ain't like you come into the fight weighing less than 135. So in my opinion, if Lomachenko moved down in weight, it will show that he don't want no smoke with these young lions. From Devin Haney to even Tank Davis. Obviously, he doesn't want the Manny Pacquiao fight. So regardless of what people say, if Lomachenko is this pound for pound talent, this weight issue shouldn't bother him because he's not that small at 135. But obviously, Lomachenko is struggling against these fighters that have a little size advantage on him. And when I say little size advantage, I mean like a couple pounds, possibly like 5 to 10 pound max. You know, these opponents are not outweighing him by 20 pounds. So Lomachenko, in my opinion, in order for him to prove himself, he has to take on the Devin Haney fights. He has to take on the Lopez fights, the Tank Davis fights, and even the Manny Pacquiao fight. Because at the end of the day, Lomachenko has all the advantages, from the experience to being in his prime. He's complete as we speak. Meanwhile, Devin Haney is still green. Meanwhile, Tank Davis is still growing as a fighter. Lomachenko is not going to get any better than what he is today. So why would you move down in weight when things started to get heated? Keep in mind, Lomachenko just won a belt beating a fighter that wasn't a champion. Luke Campbell fought Linares, lost already. He was ranked number 5 in the division. So he wasn't the best fighter the division had to offer. And he fought him for a belt. So you're going to win that belt and not fight the mandatory fighter for that belt, even though you didn't beat a real champion for it. So regardless of what people say, Lomachenko has to pay his dues. He has to fight the likes of Devin Haney's, the likes of Tank Davis, the likes of Manny Pacquiao, the fighter that he claims he wanted to be like. Lomachenko stated that his dream is to become a Manny Pacquiao in the sport of boxing. But you gonna turn down a Manny Pacquiao fight? A 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao? If you want to be a Manny Pacquiao, you can't be an old Manny Pacquiao? Man, this is ridiculous. So, like I said, quit overhyping Lomachenko. Now the man can't even live up to the hype. Now the man doesn't even want the smoke anymore, because every time he steps in the ring, he getting so critiqued for his performance, because they compared him to Roy Jones, to Muhammad Ali. Now he got to live up to the hype. And the only way he could live up to the hype is by taking certain supplements that's banned. And that's why fighters resort to taking steroids, due to all the pressure that they dealing with. So people that overhype certain fighters just because of their complexion are the reason why some fighters end up taking steroids. So regardless of that, Lomachenko has to stay in Smoke City. You arrived in the city when it was all peace. There was no ruler. Now that things getting hot, now that things getting cloudy, you want to leave the city and not even conquer another city. You want to go back to the city you came from. Nah. You don't want to move up to the 140-pound division. You want to move down to the 130-pound division. But y'all think Lomachenko is pound for pound number one? That should tell it all. And like I said, the media need to stop overhyping Lomachenko, because it's all downhill from now. Because now he's going to start fighting these elite fighters on his level. It's no more Corollas for you to look too spectacular, where you're going to be looking like a Mike Tyson, even though you're an average puncher. So Bob Arum has to put Lomachenko in with these young lions if he claims and he states that he believes Lomachenko is this all-time great fighter. Then you're not risking anything, because regardless of who you put Lomachenko against, because you believe Lomachenko will win. So Bob Arum is the winner in this situation. Everybody wants to fight Lomachenko, and he's becoming a wanted man. The most wanted man in boxing right now, probably. He got all these fighters calling him out, so he got so much options. So don't choose the easiest fighter in the division. Don't choose a Corolla, a guy that's not even ranked on the top 10. So we'll see what Lomachenko decides to do. In my opinion, he has all the advantages on his side. So why not fight all these young lions? Because you got the experience, you a completed fighter. Meanwhile, you catching them while they green. And then if they go on to build their legacy, it will make you look that much better. So Lomachenko has no reason to turn down a fight with Devin Haney if he was willing to fight a Luke Campbell, a Corolla, fighters that's not supposed to be in the ring with him. However, Devin Haney, he has all this hype behind him, and he looking like Pretty Boy Floyd. Not saying that he is, but he living up to it. He's calling out Lomachenko. He looking great in the ring. So you got to give Devin Haney a lot of credit and a lot of props for looking forward to fighting the best and calling out everyone in the division. So like I always say, subscribe below if you're trying to get smart about a minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't, and listen to old media. Follow Lunatoon Boxing for the funniest boxing memes. All the links will be in the description box below. Click on the notification bell to get notified every time we go live and to be continued on the next episode of VACTE TV. Peace, and we outie.